Errol Spence Jr. responds to some comments that Roy Jones answered to in the interview, and I want to talk about everything right here on Gym Boxing. Woo! What up, fight fans? Boxing family, this your boy Get Him Mike. This is Gym Boxing. Welcome back, all my subscribers. If you're new to the channel, man, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. We're gonna chop it up a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on yesterday at the Jermell Charlo fight, and there was some stuff going on, man. Shout out to the homie Fred from Barbershop Conversations, man. Good brother over there. He got a lot of work done yesterday, a lot of interviews, a lot of inside stuff for a lot of us other channels to talk about, man. So we appreciate that, Fred. One of the things I thought was interesting, Roy Jones was making some, he was answering some questions to some reporters who was asking him certain questions, and one of which was talking about Errol Spence Jr. And I want to, give my thoughts on it. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that he said, some of the things that surrounded it. I know they asked Errol Spence about it, and Errol Spence gave his comments too, man. So I want to talk about both, and I kind of feel like, in a sense, that this thing is starting to get somewhat out of hand, this whole situation, because I feel like it was somewhat instigated in the wrong manner. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the guy who asked Errol Spence, has he heard about what Roy said? I thought that was a bit grimy. I thought it was a little bit childish, in my opinion, the manner of which the question was asked. But let's get into some of Roy Jones' comments, and then I want to talk about what the reporter asked and Errol Spence's responses and all that stuff like that. So one of the points that Roy Jones was making was that, a lot of people are puffing up Errol Spence Jr., making him number one pound for pound, making him the best thing since sliced bread. And I think Roy Jones' comments was that not only did he doesn't have, anything bad or any shots thrown at Errol Spence Jr., his whole situation is that he just feels that he hasn't seen enough from Errol Spence, okay? He says that he wasn't necessarily impressed with some of the guys he's fought. He wasn't necessarily impressed with Mikey Garcia. And he feels like he wants to see Errol Spence Jr. up against another high-quality opponent in order to really start to give him full credit in it. And I know a lot of people got pissed off at Roy Jones, or a lot of people felt like, some of the stuff he said was crazy. But I think Roy Jones is credible enough and has a credible enough understanding of boxing for his comments to be, taken with some sort of understanding, like, if that makes any sense. His comments, in my personal opinion, you don't have to always agree with everything, but you have to respect what he's saying, and I kind of somewhat see what he's saying. So he says that, he don't want to give him, all the credit too fast, and he used one situation as an example, how HBO, and this was just HBO now, this was not none of the brothers that I know, this was not any of the African American community, for the most part, wasn't doing this. But I know on HBO they were definitely putting Roman Garcia, what's his name, Chocolatito, they was putting Chocolatito up there as he was the best thing since sliced bread. They were saying he was number one pound for pound fighter in the world, and then he went out there and got KO'd by, I think that was Sor Rungvisai, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I'm saying? So he's basically using that as an example to say you can't really push these fighters up, and you can't really, it's not a good idea to launch them up to the best thing in boxing since Muhammad Ali before they actually prove it in the ring. And I understand what he's saying, and I think he also said Sean Porter, this whole Sean Porter fight is going to tell us who Errol Spence Jr. really is. Those are his comments. So, I agree. I think this Sean Porter fight is going to really, really tell us whether or not Errol Spence Jr. is 100% the real deal. I know a lot of people still got questions. A lot of people already put him up there as the real deal. But I think, out of all of the different fights that Errol Spence Jr. has fought, he has a few, certain situations where he was able to show what he can do. But there's still some question marks. Like when he fought against another, pretty decent welterweight in Kell Brook when he was the champion at that time. Kell Brook was, he was a big welterweight. He moved up, fought Triple G, all that good stuff. But, a lot of people felt like before, his eye gave out, a lot of people felt like Errol Spence Jr. was losing that fight. They felt like they saw some things in the fight that, that showed that he still had things he needed to work on. And, with that being said, he did, move on to stop Kell Brook in impressive fashion. He kept the foot on his neck. And then against Mikey Garcia, Mikey Garcia was moving up in weight. And, a lot of people thought that Mikey Garcia would outbox Errol Spence, but Errol Spence definitely showed his ability to box in that fight. So he definitely showed us that he has some ability. But I think the reason why Roy Jones is not necessarily ready to give him that much credit, or he's not really that impressed with the Garcia fight, is because Garcia was the smaller fighter. And not only that, but a lot of people also thought Garcia just was kind of slow. He had slow feet, not really that fast of a fighter. So that's not really a fight that Roy Jones believes is a fight that you could thrust Errol Spence to the top with, if that makes any sense. And I don't think that this should be something that should be, I feel like the whole reporter asking Errol Spence, "Hey, Errol, did you hear what Roy Jones said about you?" And I felt like that was a little bit instigative. I felt like that was a little bit, it was like some gossip type shit. I thought that was like that wasn't the best way to go about doing that. And obviously, if Errol Spence didn't get around to hearing it yet, and he just hears somebody shouting out that somebody's saying something bad about him, now that's gonna lead to like some sort of a conflict between Errol and Roy, which probably shouldn't even be there, because Roy was only critiquing Errol. He was only, as an older man, as a former pound for pound best fighter, Hall of Famer, legendary Roy Jones is giving the younger fighter some critique and saying, don't make him seem like he's the best just yet, we got more to see. So I felt like, I don't think Roy Jones was trying to really shit on Errol Spence. I don't think it was one of those things where he was trying to bash the man. I think it was one of those things where he was telling everybody, let's just wait and see how this thing plays out. He says, I love Errol Spence, everybody loves Errol Spence, but we just got to make sure he's the real deal before we give him the crown. You know what I'm saying? So I think what Errol Spence said was, this is what Errol Spence said. He says things like, well, he's an HBO dude. He's rocking with Terrence Crawford real heavy. He don't really care what Roy say about him. He never really looked for Roy's opinion about him. And you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, it's starting to get to a point where it doesn't look good, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? I really don't think Roy Jones was really trying to down Errol Spence. I just feel like everything just kind of got out of hand real quick. I thought Roy Jones gave his honest opinion. I thought he was answering, those reporters that was asking him questions. I thought he was answering that with honesty, with all honesty, wholeheartedly. I just thought that he was giving an honest opinion, and you got to respect that from anybody, especially a Hall of Fame fighter like Roy Jones. So he made his comments. Errol Spence responded to his comments. I'm gonna leave a link in the description for you guys to go check it out. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Some people feel like Errol Spence is not proven yet. Some people feel like just his talent alone. They thought, feel like the Kell Brook fight, and also him beating Mikey Garcia, Peterson, stuff like that. It's shown us a lot about Errol Spence. And then you have others that feel like, nah, bro, you got to fight the Keith Thurmans, you got to fight the Sean Porters, you got to fight Terrence Crawford. We got to see you up against another formidable opponent in order to let us know how you really fight. You know what I'm saying? So I still have my question marks. I definitely think Errol Spence showed a hell of a lot of skill versus Mikey Garcia. So I don't have any doubts in my mind that Errol is a good boxer. I believe he is. I know he, started in a Mexican gym. He has a whole bunch of different wrinkles to his game, man. So I just felt like everything that was said in the comments, everything that the reporter, asked Errol Spence, did you hear what Roy said about you? I just felt like that was a little bit childish, and I felt like, shit shouldn't really go like that, in my personal opinion. I feel like you got to give Errol Spence a chance to actually see the content of what Roy said and how he said it in order to make a sound decision, man. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Y'all give y'all thoughts in the comment section. This your boy Get a Mic. I'll be back with another video, and I'm out. Peace.